Hi there, my name is Katie Saint from Fox Valley Autism. This is Net Training Video 2 on functions of behavior. So, there are four primary functions of behavior. The first one is sensory, otherwise known as automatic reinforcement. What happens during this function is it's internally reinforcing. So an example of that is when I chew gum, that doesn't serve a function of escape, doesn't serve a function of attention-seeking behavior. I do it simply because I like it. When you cover up with a blanket, it keeps you warm and it feels good. That's sensory. A lot of times we'll say that kids with autism stim. Sometimes they rock back and forth. Sometimes they will rub their hands together, wiggle a string, different things like that. It doesn't serve a purpose other than they enjoy it. And so we call that automatic reinforcement. The next one is escape. So what happens here is a child will not want to do something, and so they will act up to get out of the task. So it's really important as therapists that we don't give them that escape, because if they learn that hitting, kicking, throwing, screaming, things like that get them out of the task that they don't want to do, that behavior is going to occur more. So we want them to learn that asking for a break or just working hard and finishing the task is what's going to get them through these hard tasks, not their problem behaviors. So the next one is attention seeking. This one is really hard to not reinforce because even eye contact or facial expression can reinforce it. But attention seeking behavior is when a child acts up to get your attention. So parents will see this a lot when they're on their phone. Maybe they're hanging out with friends and their children want their attention, and you're just trying to have a conversation, but your child is climbing all over you or hitting you or screaming to get that response. So it's really important, if they're having problem behavior that is attention seeking, that we ignore it. We don't talk to them, we don't look at them, we don't show facial expression. And the reason for this is because we want them to learn that if they want our attention, they have to do good behavior to get it, not problem behavior. So if a child is breaking something to get your attention, or maybe hurting a sibling, something like that, you have to intervene. Safety is obviously our #1 priority. But what you do then is you simply robotically block. So you don't give a verbal reprimand. You don't say, don't do that, that's not okay. You don't have any of those conversations. You simply stand in the way. If you have to, remove the sibling so that the sibling isn't getting hurt, that's totally okay. Just don't interact with the child who's having the problem behavior if it's attention seeking. Block whatever you need to block, be robotic as possible, and hide that emotional response. So we have sensory or automatic reinforcement, we have escape, we have attention seeking, then we have want or tangible. So what this one means is the child will do something to get what they want. So if the child wants a cookie and he knows, if I scream for a really long time, I know that eventually they'll give in and I can have that cookie. So we want them to learn that that does not work to get the cookie, and that they need to ask nicely in order to get what they want. So again, we're trying to make it so that in order for the child to get what they want, whether it's attention, escape, or something tangible, that they have appropriate behavior to get it. And so how we do that is just giving in when they're appropriate and then not giving in when they're inappropriate. So one thing to be aware of along those lines is extinction bursts. Sometimes when we quit reinforcing a problem behavior, the problem behavior will get worse before it gets better. So we need to push through this. This is called the extinction burst. If we stop with our behavior plan in the middle of the extinction burst, we basically just taught the child to behave even worse instead of what they were doing before. So what happens is the child initially was, say, crying to get what you want. And so you decided you were going to do extinction. You were not going to reinforce the problem behavior. So now he started hitting. But because he started hitting, you're like, whoa, this plan's not working, so I'm just going to give in. Well, then from then on, to get that item, that child would go to hitting. So we need to push through that, and even if they take it up a notch, even if it gets worse, we need to continue to not reinforce it. Because typically what happens is it gets worse, and then it gets better and goes away. And so we just have to get through that hard period where it's temporarily worse. Sometimes after it completely goes away, it comes back, and that's called spontaneous recovery. And it's just important you continue to not reinforce it, and it should go away. If you do reinforce it during spontaneous recovery, sometimes that makes it way harder to go away again the second time when you work on that behavior. So just make sure that even if it's been a while, you continue to not reinforce that behavior. The last thing I want to talk about in this subject is holds. As therapists, we are not allowed to put children in holds. And so what that means is we can't restrict them. We can't lock them in a room. We can't grab their wrist so hard that they can't pull away. So if a child's unsafe, we're going to block things. We're going to do what we can to prevent them, but we cannot put them in a hold. The only exception to that is if it was a life-threatening situation. Like, for example, if a child is running into traffic and we have to run after them and grab them to prevent them from getting hit by a car, by all means, we're going to do that because we're going to save their life over not putting them in a hold. But generally speaking, in everyday therapy, holds are not something we can do. So that is the end of video 2 for the Line Therapist Net training.